Hey, Rolling Out family. We're currently in Black Maternal Health Week, April 11th through April 17th, and it's a time to uplift stories that highlight both challenges and strength of Black mothers. Today, we welcome Tracey Young, a Chicago mom who was once told she wouldn't live to see her daughter turn 5. Diagnosed with postpartum cardiomyopathy, PPCM, after her second pregnancy, she faced heart failure head on. In 2012, she received a life-saving left ventricular assist device, LVAD, a mechanical heart pump that helps weakened heart circulate blood. Over a decade later, she's thriving, living actively with her daughter, and recently qualified for a heart transplant. Today, Tracey uses her voice as a pastor and an advocate to educate other women about PPCM and the importance of proactive healthcare. Her story is one of survival, faith, and purpose. Let's get into it. How are you, Tracey?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Good. Yes, I'm excited to talk to you. This is such an amazing story. Can you take us back to the moment when you received your postpartum cardiomyopathy diagnosis and what was going through your mind?
Yes, so I had given birth to my second child, which was a girl. Her name is Amber. I noticed after giving birth, I was kind of out of breath. I actually thought that I was developing asthma. And so I went in for my 6 week checkup, after giving birth. And I talked to the doctor, the OB-GYN, and I said, I'm having a difficult time breathing. And so he paid attention, but kind of like brushed it off because at the time, I was obese. And so, it's just automatically assumed because you're overweight that's why you can't breathe. So I had scheduled a doctor's appointment with my primary care physician for the next day, the very next day. And when I went into the office, she took my blood pressure and it was extremely high.
Mhm.
They didn't take my blood pressure the day before when I went for the OB-GYN, because then they would have got notification of what was occurring in my body. As my primary doctor listened to my heart, she heard the fluid like rushing through like a river. And they immediately called 911 and then transferred me to the hospital. I was told at that time by the cardiologist, now I've just given birth. My daughter is 6 weeks old and my son was 2. And I was told at that time that I would not live to see Amber turn 5.
So, wow. How did you find strength during a time when you were told that you wouldn't live to see your daughter grow up?
I'm a woman of faith. I'm extremely heavily involved in the church, and I just couldn't believe that this was happening to me. This was supposed to be such an amazing, happy time, giving birth. And now I'm being told that I'm going to die. That's what they told me I was going to die. I was rushed to ICU and they asked me like, how were you able to even be walking around alive and living? I married me and my husband, and all I could think about was who's going to raise my kids. I didn't want my husband to be left as a widower. And it was just frightening. And I just couldn't believe that God was allowing this to happen to me. I'm a woman of faith. I read the Bible, I attend church services, I pray. Why is this happening to me? And never did I, think at that time it was going to lead me to my today.
Yes. Can you describe what it was like adjusting to life with a ventricular
Particular device,
assist
yes.
device?
So I received my Abbott HeartMate device, which is a left ventricular assist device. It is for short term called an LVAD. I received it in May of 2012. So I have been living with this device for a long time. I have really defied medical odds in doing so. I was the first morbidly obese patient at my local hospital to receive the device. Prior to, I could not do nothing. I was previously a supervisor with the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services.
Mhm.
So I was caseworker and then had turned into, promoted to a supervisor.
Mhm.
And, I pushed through like so many other women do. We got to do what we got to do. And I hit this wall. And when I hit the wall, I wasn't able to do anything. I eventually had to stop working, and my health deteriorated drastically. I mean, really, really fast. And I began to prepare for death. So much so, my birthday is 10/10. And so 10/10/20, I turned 40 years old. And I said, if I'm going to pass, I need to be at the repast. So I basically had a 40th birthday party that I turned into a repast. I
Yeah.
invited all the family and fit friends. I loved on everyone. I handed out trophies to my mentors. I acknowledged all those individuals that meant something into me in my life. I invested a lot of money in a video where I talked to my kids, and I did like a scan over my life because I wanted to leave something in the earth as a remembrance of me. I said, if y'all gonna have a party, I'm gonna be there. And so it was just amazing because people had no idea the thought behind it. It was shortly thereafter that I was blessed to be chosen to receive the Abbott HeartMate 2. And when I tell you it changed my life drastically, it changed my life drastically. It wasn't a smooth sailing when I was first implanted, but everything just began to improve, improve, improve. And as it did, the shortness of breath left. The hospital stays literally ceased. I began to be able to exercise. It empowered me to be able to sustain and survive weight loss surgery. I began to exercise and eat better. And I just had a brighter outlook on life. Again, still within my faith because God had told me He was going to heal me. He said, stop preparing for death because you're going to live.
You know,
And
I
mhm,
wanted to touch on something that you mentioned earlier, and this was before, when you knew something was wrong
mhm,
and you went to the doctor initially, and I mean, for lack of a better word, they just kind of brushed it off as your size. Why do you
yes.
think, in your opinion, why do you think they viewed it like that up until the second time that you went, and they gave you the right
You know,
prognosis?
I have found, especially being a larger woman in the past, I have lost so much weight, and thank God for that, becoming healthier. But there's a stereotype, and I have experienced this as an African American, morbidly obese woman throughout time. I have encountered situations where being perceived as you're fat, you're overweight, and you're uneducated.
Hmm.
And I have exhausted myself by proving that I'm educated, right? I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, I have a doctorate degree, but because I'm fat and because I'm Black, I'm not of no use. I'm not worth it. And so, because all you guys do, and again, I'm just using the stereotype,
Hmm.
is just eat fried chicken and greasy foods, and you don't care about your health. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
That's just not true. And so even when I was pregnant with Amber, I remember going to the doctor, telling the doctor throughout the pregnancy, I can't breathe. And he told me, because you fat.
Hmm.
He told me that. And I was fat. He the doctor. Do you see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I took it for what it was. I had no idea about heart failure, heart failure diagnosis, any of that, you know? I just
Yeah.
accepted it. I didn't realize the importance of checking your blood pressure because had I would have asked why you didn't check my blood pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
today, this is how I empower other women, not just women with my diagnosis, but women in general, especially younger women. Because I was trying to get established in my career. I'm living life. I'm enjoying life. I ain't supposed to be sick. you know,
Yeah.
that's only supposed to happen to elderly people, not young folks. I
Yeah.
was able to move around, even being 300 plus pounds. There was nothing that I couldn't do when I set my mind forth to do it. So I didn't look at my weight as a hindrance. But after being diagnosed, I started educating myself and researching and learning. I didn't just take the medical advice, I went and read things for myself so that I could get a better understanding, so I could ask questions. And that's what I try to inspire and educate other women to do today. And it has
And
become so much more pronounced today.
of course, and why is it important for you to share this story with other women, other Black women specifically?
I believe this is my purpose. You know, reflecting over your life, especially when you're faced with death, you're like, okay, God, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And honestly, Eddie, so many others have made their transition well before me because been told on several occasions that I would not live, and yet I'm still living. And I couldn't understand where I'm still here, but others that were so much healthier than me are now gone. So
Mm-hmm.
why am I still here? And being in that relationship with God, he began to say, because I put you here for this purpose. I want others to see there's hope, even when you receive such a daunting diagnosis, that there's hope. I want you to be that voice here on the earth, in the earth, to let others know that I am yet a healer. I want you to let others know there's preventive measures. You have to change your lifestyle. Also, I want you to share with them not just the good, but the not so good. I want you to share with them that I'm not a genie in a bottle, but they have a responsibility too. Because I think sometimes we just say, okay, God, make it all disappear. And it don't work that way.
You got
That
to
would be
put some
nice,
skin
but
in
it
the
doesn't
game.
work that way.
Yeah.
Be rid of the myth. We can eat better. We can prepare delicious meals. We can love exercise. Our body actually needs it. You know, I'm 54 years old, but I remember being in college in the early 90s on NIU campus. And when I saw the girls jogging, they were Caucasian. And I was like, oh, that's wonderful for them.
Yeah, but it's
Now
wonderful.
I'm in the gym jogging.
Yeah, it's wonderful for us too. So even along those same lines, what does your current wellness routine look like? And
Okay.
how has it changed over time?
Well, first of all, me and my husband, I had to make a decision. Initially, I was living to raise my children. I was living so that my husband would not be a widower. Today, I live for Tracey. Okay. It had to become about me. And since it has become about me, I have found consistency.
Mhm.
I've been married. It'll be 33 years in August to a wonderful, wonderful, supportive husband. And right now, we go to Planet Fitness at least 3 to 4 times per week. Sometimes I push it because my husband is 8 years older than me. And so, and
Mhm.
so he does it out of love. We go to the gym at 3:30 in the morning. You say,
Mhm.
why so early? Because I'm in the gym to maintain my life. When you go, I found that in some gyms, people are there because that's a meeting area. You can you can meet people and they have a different perspective from being at the gym than what I have. And so when I'm there at 3:30, I'm there with the seniors and I get my choice of machines. I'm able to just relax, not worried about being body shamed, not worried about being in someone's videos, because my gym X regimen doesn't look like theirs.
Hmm.
I'm there taking my time, monitoring my breathing. I'm on the treadmill at level 2,
Hmm.
okay? Speed 2, incline 2. Eddie, that took me a long time to get to because of the condition of my heart. My heart function is low. So I can do things, but I have to do mine at the pace that I can do it at. Versus I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure you could outrun me, Eddie. Okay. You can outrun me.
Maybe not. You going to the gym at 3 in the morning.
I can lift weights. I can actually pull up on my body weight. I can pick me up. That was such a goal for me. It took me 18 years to fulfill a bucket list of walking an outdoor trail. Now, as you got to incorporate healthy eating. My husband and I eat according to our blood type. Honestly, and I'm not recommending this for anybody, this is what works for us. When we began to eat according to our blood type, I found myself no longer sluggish. I had so much more energy. I was able to just be more vibrant during the day, complete tasks without losing focus. All that inflammation left out of my belly. It was just better lifestyle for me. Now, our family and friends really embrace our lifestyle of living because they see the results. So I don't get the
Hmm.
ridicule from others that say, "Why you doing that? Girl, you don't know what you missing." You know what I'm saying? They're asking me, "Oh, Tracey, that looks delicious. Oh, can I try that? Can you bring this for the potluck?" Things of that nature. We eat to live, we don't live to eat. Trust me, we used to
Yes.
live to eat, but the food is enjoyable. So it's not like, "Oh, that's nasty." We shop several times a week so that our food is fresh. It's a complete overhaul. Also, we seek guidance from Christ. We pray and we invited him in our healthy eating lifestyle, our new lifestyle, versus we don't just go to church, but we want
Hmm.
him to be instructing us and leading us to how we can better live our best life here on the earth.
Yeah.
Ain't no
So,
dad in heaven.
you mentioned the relationship that you have with your husband, and earlier on during your journey, the doctor mentioned that you wouldn't live to see your daughter turn 5, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, she's way beyond that now.
She
She's
is
a college.
27. She will be 28 in June 9th. Now, let me tell you about Amber. Because, I want her to be in the best health possible. And so
Mhm.
it was a little coaxing in getting Amber on board with eating better, but she feels now that her biological clock is ticking. So
But
now,
let me ask you this then: how has your relationship with your daughter evolved
oh wow.
through your shared
Um,
health journey?
she, first of all, it is very traumatizing for children to watch their parent be ill at such a young age. I am so grateful that I was a social worker, that's my trade, because I was able to provide the balance and the counseling necessary needed to keep them stable so that they didn't live a life of fear. But at the same time, I had to educate them as to what was going on with mommy because there were so many hospital visits. I suffered 2 viral heart attacks. I had to have a defibrillator implanted. These were young children. And so, even at the time, I was unable to go to school functions and plays and games and different things of that nature. But God made sure I had a community that was there to help assist my husband. So she was never kept in the dark about what was going on. But at the same time, it's mom. And so she was always concerned. My daughter's extremely overprotective of me. You know how like husband and wife have the signals that know something's going on? We have that going on between the two of us. Whereas if I'm not feeling well, she was like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And prior to the implantation of my device, Amber had to help out a lot. Amber had to assist me in the restroom. Amber had to help me put on my clothes. Amber had to learn how to prep meals because I wasn't able to do it. And so as she grew older, like I remember praying, asking God to let me see her graduate high school. And then I asked her, and that happened, and let me see her graduate from college. But I remember for high school, when I tell you, and when Amber became a senior, I went above and beyond for her. And the reason being, I felt like I owed it to her. People was like, I can't believe you're spending all this money for a prom. I said, oh no, I need to celebrate her because my kids didn't have ordinary way of living. They grew up with a sick mom. I didn't mention my son. My son, today is actually the anniversary of him seeing Jesus for the first time. He passed on April the 14th of 2023. He had a massive heart attack where a virus attacked his heart and he did not survive.
Mhm.
And so that really brought a greater reflection for me and my husband in terms of our determination and dedication. We did not want to leave Amber in this earth alone. She's not married, she doesn't have any children. And we just was like, that's not fair. That's not fair to her because we had our parents and they were there for us getting married. They were there for us when our children were born. And so we was like, come on, we got to get this thing together. And it has been life changing. It has been remarkable. I promise I give all the glory to God because without Him, none of this would have been possible. None
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you say to a new mom who just received a PPCM diagnosis?
There's hope. It's not a death sentence. Miracles happen. Let's see what can be done to change. Let's do an assessment and see where can we make improvements. There are so many advancements medically out here today that weren't here 10 years ago, that weren't accepted 10 years ago. There's so much more data and information available. And so I would advise them to get educated in the diagnosis. I would advise them to build a team. If they don't have a team within their family, many of the local hospitals have team. I serve on my local team hospital. I have been used to talk to other patients, male and female. I have me and my husband, we have went and held hands when they had to get the device. We have went and been an encouragement with family members of the patients to let them know, okay, when the doctor comes and says this, okay, that's not that bad. Because I remember like freaking out because you would sign this and it says, okay, you got to take this test, but it can kill you. And so if it does, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. And so I would be like, should I sign it? But that's just the disclaimer.
Mm.
It's, you're not going to die. And that really, really helps. Eddie, I didn't tell you my heart disease is from the paternal side of my family. 4 years after being implanted, my older brother needed the device. And so now I have an older sibling where we're both recipients of LVAD, and we both have made it to the transplant list. So this is my purpose, and I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? I had to grow to that, but I'm cool with that because it has been a blessing to so many others that have came through. You always need a forerunner, and
Hmm.
I've been a forerunner.
Yeah.
It took me 4,440 days to get on the heart transplant list. That's over 12 years.
Yes.
12 years. So I failed so many times, but I got back up.
Yeah.
My mantra is, oh, quitting ain't never an option. Only option is I'm not alive. So if I got breath in my body, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You
But
mentioned earlier, and congratulations for getting on that list. And you mentioned earlier about your experience navigating this healthcare system as a Black woman.
mhm,
How can we as a community better support Black maternal health year round and not just during awareness weeks?
okay. So we have to reach people where they are. One of the outlets that I've seen, like you have your magazine, this is great. There's so many success stories out there in many diagnoses, not just heart failure. Many, many diagnoses, excuse me. But we have to get the word out. We have to visit local churches, libraries, schools, get the education systems involved where we're educating our youth. So by the time they make it into their teens and 20s, they recognize the importance of better health, better eating, exercise, learning your family history. So many don't know their family history. Or, watch this, we got sugar. What is sugar?
Hmm.
We have a name, you know, and you don't get sugar from eating sugar.
Right.
Don't be afraid to go to the doctor. A lot of myths that came from our forefathers have been passed along. Don't let them cut on you. You know what I'm saying? I received the greatest compliment from my mother after I had my heart surgery. She said, "You're a better woman than me because I would have never let them cut on me. Had they not cut on me, I wouldn't be alive today. But what if I had internalized that and that was my truth? I wouldn't be here." So, we don't throw them away. We build upon them. We say, "Hey, we've evolved. Hey, watch this. Some African Americans actually went to school now. We can trust. All doctors are not horrible. All doctors are not in it for the money." Things of that nature. There needs to be pamphlets at the grocery store, at the DMV. Watch this, at the beauty supply.
Yeah.
Where we shop at, and put African American faces. Okay. Put young people, because we also have some bad recipients much younger than I was when I received mine. Let them see this heart disease strikes from the youngest newborns all the way to the elderly. It doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care about your socioeconomic background. It does not care about your educational level. Again, I was doing well. I was educated. I wasn't, this welfare mom. And guess what? I had heart disease.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have every female on my father's side of the family died from heart disease. I had no knowledge of it. And my father lived in the house.
Wow.
My father died of a massive heart attack at age 48. And we attributed to him being a drug user, never a hereditary disease. Yeah. It wasn't until after my brother got diagnosed with heart failure that I learned every woman in my father's bloodline died from heart disease. That was a fine time to learn that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Tracey, lastly, what do you hope people take away from your story?
First and foremost, there's hope. First and foremost, there's hope. Secondly, I hope that I'm not stepping over my bounds, but you need a relationship with the Lord. You need a connection, and I believe that connection to be God. I believe that connection to be Jesus, and you need that connection for direction, for which way to go. Who? Because I'm clueless. I don't know what to do, and so I believe He will guide you and lead you to where you go. He has given me favor with people, with doctors, with medical personnel that actually care, because I've been in places where they didn't care. And so I've seen the difference. And again, I give the glory to God for that. I thank God for being in a position to be a pastor. So I'm able to pray with others. Prayer is good. Even if you consider yourself don't know how to pray, it's a start. I tell people this: if you can talk, you can pray.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to go through all of these steps. Just talk. Just talk.
Mhm.
You need to follow the medical advice that's given, meaning this: if they're telling you to take your medication, take it. If they're telling you to keep your doctor's appointment, keep your doctor's appointments. If they're telling you you need to lose some weight to gain better health, do so. If they're telling you you have to change your lifestyle by stop smoking and drinking, I oftentimes think, what if I was a smoker? Or what if I was a drinker? Or what if I used drugs? I was never really one of those that engaged in those activities, but what if? But again, follow it. It can be done. When I received this device today, Eddie, the things that I'm doing, I never thought that I would be able to do. God has also given me another platform. It is called W.E.A.P. It's spelled W-E-A.P. It's Women of Excellence, Ambition, and Purpose. I'm able to reach all races, all ages. It's a place where women can come. There's no attachment to a church or a religious affiliation. It is a place where we can come together and women are empowered and networked and can talk. And I bring in speakers, not just in relation to heart disease, but to other things, whether it's in the marketplace, dealing with their health, dealing with being a mom, a wife, or just a woman. We need that. We need that community. We need that collaboration. We need to be here for one another. And I've just been so blessed to be supported by other community agencies, local churches, to put on a monthly meeting that I'm able to do this at my sanctuary where we host church services. I didn't tell you that I'm the pastor of But God Ministries in Wheaton, Illinois. So we're able to host this. And again, because we're 501c3, we're able to receive donations where everything is utilized for the women. I don't take any money. The ministry doesn't take any money. Any donations I receive, I give to those women. I pour into that monthly meeting. I've done conferences for it where I've brought together, my largest conference had 150 women present. And the women have been blessed. people may not have a medical diagnosis, but they know someone, and they'll
Yes.
call me and they'll say, hey, can you tell them what's going on? Or they're at the hospital in a 911 situation. Can you help? Can you come? And I do. I really
Yeah.
do. Me and my husband, we go. And folks say, how are you able to do this? And I don't know. I just get empowered with strength to go because I'm so grateful that it happened for me. So I'm paying it forward. And then I don't take their money. I say pay it forward to the next, however you
Yes.
can,
Yes.
and I'm just grateful. Many doors have been opened. Church really works. There's still some people going to church, even if they're going online. And
Yes. Yes.
I'm able to speak at conferences to help. When I share even my story about my son passing, parents become more conscientious about their kids, about their mates, different things of that nature, because again, we don't know. And a lot of times, you may not be familiar with this, women have stuff going on with their heart and they think it's indigestion.
Yeah.
They think that they got heartburn. And I know some personal friends because of my story, they've ended up with defibrillators because what they thought was indigestion was later turned into a diagnosed heart failure.
Wow.
You
So,
know, so
Tracy, Tracy Young, thank you so much for joining us today. How can people connect with you?
you can contact me at But God Ministries in Wheaton, Illinois. Also, I am on platforms with Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Now, currently under Tracey Young at Facebook. However, I'm transferring pages. And so Facebook got a whole new setup now. So I'm trying to get that done. I wanted to just focus on heart failure versus, how you got all the other stuff. And so you try to
Hmm.
get through all of that. But Instagram and TikTok, hold on, I need to give you the hashtag of that. Listen, all of this is new, and I have a team that is handling all of this because I got so much going on right now. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at
Hmm.
Tracy TG12.
Tracy
Tracy
TG12.
at Tracy TRACEY TG12.
Awesome. Awesome. Rolling Out family, we are so honored to have welcomed Tracey Young to this edition of Health IQ. It is Black Maternal Health Week. Make sure that we're paying attention to ourselves and paying attention to the women in our lives and make a better world. This is your man Precise, and as I always say, stay focused, positive, and productive. Peace.